see so many faces here today. Thank you for sharing your Saturday morning, your warm Saturday morning with us. We have a great program with lots of candidates. And I am Noreen Spears. I am not Pat Willer. Today I am filling in, as you can imagine, with the primary election right around the corner. Pat is very busy. She is double and even at times triple booked today and not feeling quite 100%. So I am here in her stead, filling some big shoes, but hey, we might even have a fun time together. So thank you. Seminar sponsors. I'm going to start by thanking our sponsors of today's seminar, Mark and Jeannie Cottrell, Steve Lopes and Lois Orthlopes, Kurt and Marilyn Hall. Thank you to those sponsors, and if you are interested and would like to sponsor one of our seminars, please talk to myself or Amy Castle, and we will definitely hook you up. Okay, we have some elected officials and candidates, as I said, here today. I'd like to recognize them at this time. Marcy Francisco was here. I think she is not at this time, but she came in and was saying hello. We have Representative Boog Heiberger. Welcome, Boog Heiberger. And we have an elected official and a candidate. Commissioner Patrick Kelly is here. Do we have any other elected officials? Okay, thank you. And now on to candidates, and you'll be hearing from them later today, but let me go through them. We have Paul Buskirk running for U.S. Senate. We have Jimmy Beard, also running for U.S. House. He is over here. There we go. We have Patrick Wiesner running for U.S. Senate. And we have a couple of people, we have a representative for Courtney Tripp, who is running for Kansas House, Jamie Harwood. And again, you'll be hearing from them in a bit. All right. Do we have any precinct committee people here today? Please stand up. All right. We are also candidates with a big race, a big election coming up. So thank you so much for your service and for what you do. I would like to recognize anyone who has volunteered with the Douglas County Democrats in the last year. Please stand up. That'd be all the PCPs again. Thank you so much for your service. I once said to Representative Boog Heiberger, "Thank you for your service, sir." And he looked at me and he said, "We all do our part." And that is certainly represented here today. Thank you all for what you do with the Democratic Party, but also in our community. All right, and speaking of volunteers, I am now going to welcome one of our tried and true volunteers, David Berkowitz, up to do the all-important passing of the hat. Welcome, David.
Well, it goes without saying, so I'm not going to say it, but I will say a few other things. We're facing a very important election and a kind of unique one. We, of course, have the constitutional amendment, which we're working to try to defeat very hard as a party in August, but we also have quite a few races that we will be able to have some or even a great deal of ability to shape. Certainly, Governor Kelly and all the statewide candidates can't win without a big margin out of Douglas County. We have the 1st District, we have the candidate here, First district looks a little better now that we're in it, at least from a Democratic standpoint. I don't want to say that we bring any particular beauty because, frankly, Douglas County has a reputation in the Democratic Party statewide of being arrogant, which isn't entirely undeserved. So, okay, it's a hard house today. I need a guy with a drum to get it going. Anyhow, and of course, though our incumbents in the state legislature don't have any opponents, either in the primary or in the general, there are some districts where we are part of where I think we could be a big help in turning those districts into Democratic districts and helping the governor be able to defend her veto. Now, as you may imagine, all of this takes money, and that's why I'm here today, passing the hat. Now, we're probably not going to get all the money we need today by passing the hat. If for some reason we do, we'll probably get investigated. Besides that, you won't have to listen to me, I promise you, for the rest of the year. Anyway, I do need one volunteer to help pass. Okay, Carolyn. And also remember now, if you can't put anything in, thank you.
Thanks, David and Carolyn. This is a very busy time with the primary 18 days away. As you all hopefully know, early voting has begun. You can vote at the county clerk's office, which is in the malls on 23rd Street. And you can sign up at ksvotes.org to receive an advance ballot. And you can find much more information about voting at the Douglas County Clerk website because, of course, Jamie Shue is one of the best in the country. Yes, and this is a tough crowd today. We are so busy getting out the vote, and we have ample opportunities for everyone. We canvass every Saturday from 10 a.m., and Sundays at 4 p.m. You can visit our office at 2711 West 6th Street in Suite B if you'd like to join one of those canvasses. Or we have pretty regular office hours as well. You can stop by and get a list and canvas on your own. You can pick up postcards so that you can mail them out. And we also have the Vote No and the candidate signs. And we need volunteers. We are texting, we are calling, we are keeping the office open. And if you find yourself with idle time, we would love to help you with that. So come on down. On election day, we will be poll watching and we will be calling out. And if you're interested in volunteering on August 2nd, please let them know. We have a really awesome new website, which has plenty of information. Visit it at douglascountydems.org, and you can find out more information about volunteering. A few other announcements, and then we'll move on to our program. We have a meet and greet for Courtney Tripp at the Barbed Wire Barbecue in Eudora on July 27th from 5 to 7, and again, she is running for Kansas House. We have a happy hour with Governor Laura Kelly on Monday, August 1st at the Cider Gallery from 4:30 to 5:30. This is a fundraiser, but donations are optional and at any level, and it's also a meet and greet, so we'd love to see you there. And of course, we have an election watch party on August 2nd. That will be at Maselli's from 7 to 10. After this program today, after our seminar, Governor Kelly is doing a canvas kickoff. Again, that is at our headquarters, 2711 West 6th Street, Suite B, and I'm sure she would love to see you there. So head on over there for a good canvas. Okay, on to the program. We have a lively one today. We will hear from local, state, and U.S. candidates. County Commissioner, Kansas State House, U.S. Senate, and U.S. House. We're going to let each of the candidates introduce themselves and talk a little about their campaign. We're hoping that'll take 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will hopefully have time for a few questions, just kind of depending on how the answers go. Okay, so rather than, if I can get the PowerPoint, rather than having introductions for the candidates and then having them introduce themselves again, I thought we would just maybe take a look at the district map, because sometimes there are questions, especially this year when they all changed, of course, not our local ones. And that kind of gives you an idea and some perspective of the breadth of the campaign, and as well as the people that our candidates would like to represent. So we're going to start with Douglas County Commission districts. Commissioner Patrick Kelly is running in District 1. That is the only race that is up for election right now in this general election. And those have not changed, obviously, but just wanted to kind of give them a view, give you an idea of whether or not, or where your candidate is. And I also want to give a shout out to our county commission, because for the past 2 elections, there have been questions posed to the candidates about adding people onto the commission, and our current commissioners did the work to find out what it would take to get that to the people, and that vote will be on, that question will be on the general election this year. So again, that doesn't happen everywhere. So shout out to them for really listening to the people and taking action. Okay, yes. All right, we can take that down. And with that, I would like to welcome Commissioner Patrick Kelly to the podium. Again, he is running. He has a primary and a general election, so he's very busy. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, and thank you for being here. I want to thank the Douglas County Democrats for inviting me to speak today. I am truly grateful for the trust and confidence that Douglas County has in my leadership over the past 4 years. These have been challenging times, and I would be remiss if I didn't take time to recognize the losses we've experienced during the pandemic. But we should also be really proud of ourselves and how we came together as a community to support each other and keep each other safe. Through our unified command structure, and I see a unified command t-shirt up there, thank you, which I was proud to be a part of. We worked across the community to respond to what was really, truly an unbelievable challenge. I recognize many of you here today who worked at our vaccination clinics, and your work, our work, it really paid off. We in Douglas County, we saw 8,000 fewer cases, 183 fewer hospitalizations, and 195 fewer deaths than when compared to other counties. Thank you. I do not take this lightly. We saved lives, and I was very proud to lead you through that tremendous challenge. As we look ahead, I really think it's critical that we take advantage of the partnerships that were already in place, but really were strengthened during the pandemic. Mental health was a concern prior to the pandemic, and Douglas County stepped forward and supported our behavioral health. Douglas County brought together partners through our Behavioral Health Leadership Coalition to create the Treatment and Recovery Campus, which provides services and housing for individuals with serious mental illness, those with substance abuse disorders or addiction challenges. As your Douglas County Commissioner, I serve on the Behavioral Health Leadership Coalition, and I'm honored to work with our partners in creating the cottages, which if you haven't visited our behavioral health campus, our cottages are long-term supportive housing for those with persistent severe mental illness. We also have transitions, which helps folks transition back into the community after challenges with either chronic homelessness or mental health issues, and then our brand new treatment and recovery center, which will provide crisis care and treatment for adults and children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These assets are really tangible evidence of the work that we've done, and I look forward to continuing with our partners to make sure that every person in our community has the access at the right time, in the right place, and with the right type of care when it comes to mental health. We certainly should celebrate our behavioral health campus and the supportive housing of that, but it is not enough. Our recent Douglas County Supportive Housing Needs Assessment, initiated by the County Commission, tells us that we need 381 units of supportive housing to reach what we call functional zero. At the time of the assessment, 75 units were in the pipeline. I'm happy to tell you that through the American Rescue Plan Act, our County Commission has allocated over, are you ready for this, $10 million to build 180, yeah, you should applaud for that. That's 182 new supportive housing units in Douglas County. And these units come from a wide spectrum. It is for those individuals and families who are chronically homeless. It is also for foster care youth who are exiting the system. It's also for, and we were a little surprised to see this, the number of seniors, those over age 65, that are needing affordable and supportive housing. There's still work to do. I promised 4 years ago when I ran for office and asked for your vote that I would address chronic homelessness. I think it is important to recognize Douglas County's fiscal management and that we were able to spend those ARPA dollars on one-time funds and not move those dollars over into ongoing expenses, which would have created a structural deficit in our budget. So those types of things sometimes people don't see, but I think they're truly important to be able to spend it on those things that we can really make a difference with in our community. When I asked for your support to lead Douglas County 4 years ago, I knew that working together we could provide quality mental health care and reduce our jail population. We have done that. I knew that my experience bringing individuals and organizations together to work collaboratively could help address our housing crisis and expand workforce training, and we've done that. What I did not know 4 years ago is that our families, our communities, heck, our entire planet would face a challenge of a lifetime that would cause us to rethink and reevaluate our daily lives. I didn't know that would happen, but I do remember telling you back then that no matter what the circumstances were, I would provide you with honest, principled, and inclusive leadership, that I would work to bridge the divide that separates us and find common purpose and respect and understanding. No matter what faces this community, known or unknown, that will be my approach, and I pledge to you to do that work as your Douglas County Commissioner. We've made tremendous progress, but there is still work to do. I'm excited to continue that work and ask you to vote for me, Patrick Kelly, for Douglas County Commission on or before, some of you may already have done it, on August 2nd. Thank you. And Noreen, I think we'll take some questions.
If you have any questions, you are welcome to come on up to the microphone.
Good
Hi,
morning,
Catherine.
Patrick.
Good morning.
I'm Catherine Klein-Berkowitz. Oh, you knew this was coming. Okay. Going forward, Patrick, taking into account the stressors of the pandemic and the economy, what are the biggest challenges we face in Douglas County in our infrastructure, both social and physical?
So let's start with social. I think we had issues in our social service net prior to the pandemic. The pandemic has elevated some of those and increased the need more. I would like to think we have enough dollars to address it. We created during the pandemic $3 million of what we call housing stabilization collective funds. So that is rent assistance, that's utility assistance, because the best way to keep people from being homeless is to keep them in their current homes. And sometimes we can do that with a little rent assistance here and there. We've also seen a huge jump in the number of evictions locally. So I'm really proud of the work we're doing with Douglas County Housing Authority to work with landlords locally to help incentivize keeping people in their homes. An eviction is a huge barrier to future housing. Once you're evicted, it's really hard to get back in there. So I think those are some of the social things that we've seen that have popped up. From an infrastructure point of view, those social services and those housing services require administrative support to make that work. And I think as we look ahead, we have to make sure we have those services there. We can't just build supportive housing and then not have, property management folks to do that work. And so I think making sure we have that human infrastructure underneath all the services that we provide is super important. Thanks. I'm afraid you all are letting me off easy here if we don't have more questions. Thank you.
Hi, Patrick. I don't want to let you off easy.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate it.
I'm Danny Davey. I do a lot of work, as you know, with the Lawrence Board of Realtors, and so housing is a really big focus of mine.
Sure.
We got a really exciting announcement from the governor last week about a huge economic development project coming our way. And I think the estimate is upwards of 8,000 jobs between the plant and supportive jobs. How is Douglas County and Johnson County going to come together to house all of these people that are going to be working on these new jobs?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying Douglas County and Johnson County, because I think it's going to take a collaborative approach on that. I think, we have to leave it up to our municipalities to figure out how much they want to annex, how much physical infrastructure they want to put in for their individual municipalities. But I do think Douglas County and our Economic Development Council can work with Johnson County's economic partners and say, how are we working on this together? What is that? It may be that Eudora is going to grow. Eudora, folks, is 11 minutes away from the Sunflower Ammunition Plant. So this is going to have impacts on Douglas County. There's no way around that. I think what's really important is for Douglas County to make sure we're getting all those municipalities together, talking with those folks, talking with realtors, talking with home builders, and talking with planning to make sure that we're doing this in a thoughtful way. There's going to be a real seductive move to just open up the county and the unincorporated area to development. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that we need to protect our environmental resources and hold back. Let's urbanize on the edges, and I'm hoping that our municipality partners are ready for that work. Thanks. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And as I mentioned, Patrick Kelly does have a primary. We have another Democratic candidate, Dustin Stumbling Bear, running, but he could not be with us today. Before I get to our next candidate, I would like to recognize another elected official. Our school board member, Carol Cadu Blackwood, is in the house. Thank you for coming. All right, excellent. If we can bring up that map. So we're going to turn our attention to the Kansas House of Representatives and see what our new lines look like. So the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so this is what the districts looked like during the last election before redistricting. All right, and we'll go to the next slide. Notice the nice lines. And this is what our county looks like in this election. So basically, if you look like any representative in the urban area, I like to think they just kind of got squished into Lawrence, became a little more urban, most of them. And then out in the county, we just kind of got broken apart. So we have new representatives in our county that have never been on the ballot before, but we also have, if you notice the one that says open, it's House District 117. That is a new district. And basically, the population in our area grew between us and Johnson County, and this is how the legislature decided to take care of that. If you can go to the next slide. So this is a look at that entire district. It's pretty ugly. But this is what our new House representative, these are the people she'll represent, and this is what her district looks like, and this is what her challenge is to get out there and get out the vote. As you notice, this representative will be representing DeSoto. And as we just heard, right, we've got some good news, some industrial things happening there. So there's gonna be a lot of energy and a lot of excitement in this district. So something to really keep an eye on. Okay, so again, we keep saying it's a very busy time. Right now, the person running is Courtney Tripp. She is a very serious candidate. She's a very accomplished candidate. I am so excited. Maybe we can take this, whatever it is that they did to our rural parts of Douglas County, and make it a real opportunity. And I think that Courtney's going to give it a really good try. She is double booked today as well. As you can imagine, there's a lot happening in her district. But Jamie Harwood is here in her absence, and she's going to let us know about the campaign. Welcome, Jamie.
Good morning. I hate to speak in public, so I will do my very best. I'm glad that I was not first. That would have been terrible. I'm Jamie Harwood, and I'm the campaign manager for Courtney Tripp. And Courtney actually is on vacation, which I think is a great thing for her because she really needs to energize and get ready for the battle ahead. She is running for, as Noreen said, the new 117th district, and as you saw, it is ugly. That's the perfect example. We represent, Courtney will represent Western Shawnee, Western Lenexa, all of DeSoto, south of K10 in Eudora, and the spot right below K10 in Douglas County, below Lawrence. The majority of our voters are in Johnson County. We don't think that was done by accident, but the voters on this side in Douglas County are just as important to Courtney's campaign as any other voter. So Courtney looked at that new seat, which is an open seat. There's no incumbent. She doesn't have to face that battle. And instead of thinking, oh my gosh, that's terrible, there's no way, she saw it as a really, really unique opportunity to jump into the campaign and not have to battle an incumbent. So all of the ideas coming, from Courtney to this district are new. She's able to come in and make an impact, hopefully, and she doesn't have to fight against what somebody has done for the previous 2 years. So I do have a cheat sheet, if you don't mind. So Courtney lives in DeSoto with her husband, Asa, and they've moved there in the last few years, and she moved to DeSoto because she calls it her just right place. It's not too big, it's not too small, very much a small town feeling, but there are so many opportunities. It's just minutes to come to Lawrence, all of the KC Metro is there, and so she just really, really loves that area. But even though she loves that area, she saw people who are really kind of struggling. We have, has already been mentioned, some housing issues in Johnson County. She saw people really struggling to feed their families during the pandemic, to keep their jobs, and so she wanted to enter this race so that hopefully she can help those people and all people in the 117th district to thrive and hopefully create lives that they're loving to live. She has three main platforms that she's running on. The first one is education, second one is infrastructure, and the third one is healthcare. She is uniquely positioned in each of those areas because she has experience in every one of those areas. She's in marketing, that's her career, and so as part of her career, she has worked in various locations that really kind of align with her three platforms. Her biggest platform for education is to fully fund education as well as special education. And she used to be an adjunct professor, spent 5 years working in higher education, so she understands the importance of pre-K to 12 education and what you need, the skills you need, real-world learning. She's very much into that. She understands how important those things are, and so that's one of her major platforms. And she's met with some of the Johnson County superintendents. She's met with the Eudora superintendent to just kind of get a feel for what students in our 117th district needs and what schools need that hopefully she can provide when she goes to Topeka. Infrastructure is a big topic for her, especially as we've kind of mentioned that growth that's coming to the DeSoto area, which is such an amazing win for the governor and her team, but also an amazing win for the people not only in DeSoto, as Patrick mentioned, but also Douglas County, also the Johnson County Metro. They're thinking probably up to 8,000 jobs available, and that's not counting the 16,000 construction jobs that they think will be available to people to build this plant. It's just an amazing time to be in this area, to be able to see this economic growth and development, and Courtney is so excited to have this happening in our district. She also is running on expanding Medicaid and ensuring women's rights to reproductive health care. She worked at St. Luke's Health System for a number of years and Anderson County Community Hospital, and so she understands that medical decisions are private, especially for women and especially in the areas of reproductive rights. She wanted me to let you know that she will be voting no on the amendment on August 2nd. As will I, but Courtney's more important. And she really is passionate about the fact that women should be able to make decisions with their doctors and not have anyone else involved. It's our right, it's our body. So she's really got a lot of experience in all of the areas and all of her platforms that she's running on, but she just has such a passion for helping people. I'm kind of going off script a little bit to talk about Courtney from my perspective. I have seen her jump into this 110%, and that's a huge commitment from someone to jump into a race like this. And so I've just been so impressed with her ability to relate to people, to want to get out and meet every single voter if she could, which we all know is impossible, but I would not be surprised if she tries. And so she's just going to be such a fresh voice and bring a unique perspective to Topeka, and I'm so excited for her to represent everybody in the 117th district. So obviously, and there are a lot of things that you can do to help Courtney get elected. Our three main things, obviously, are donations. You know, we need that for voter outreach. If you'd like to host a yard sign, we will be sending those out and delivering those after the amendment. We want to make sure that all of the focus is on the amendment right now because she doesn't have a primary opponent, so she's lucky that she can not have to face that battle right away. And then obviously we need volunteers as well. So a lot of people have gone out and canvassed with us. If canvassing is not your thing, we have phone banking and texting and writing postcards and prepping lit. So we have a lot of opportunities. So if you're interested in any of those things, her website is CourtneyForKansas.com, and that's Courtney, the number 4.com, Courtney, the number 4, Kansas.com. So I don't know if there are any questions. Oh, good, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, we're going to bring up another slide, and we're going to turn our attention to the congressional maps. Some of you may be tired of hearing about them, but I thought we'd take a look and see what happened there. So this is what they looked like in the last election. Prior to redistricting, some nice lines there. These were drawn by the courts, by the way. And now we'll go and look at what they look like today in this election after redistricting. And I should have asked you to pay special attention to the green part of the map, which is what you may have heard referred to as the Big First, and kind of see what it did. It moved to the east, moved into districts that are more democratic and more diverse. And of course, it was very controversial. There were a lot of lawsuits, and it went into the courts, and we all learned that, and let me read this, gerrymandering and partisan districts are not prohibited. So the map stood, and this is what we have. If we can go to the next map, this was especially fun in Lawrence because it split us out of Douglas County. So the orange is in the big first, and the rest of the county is in the second. Again, I'm going to go back to let's take that energy and maybe that angst that we're feeling, and we're going to look at this as an opportunity, a dream that is only available because we have candidates running, Democratic candidates. And with that, I would like to introduce candidate Jimmy Beard, who is running for U.S. District 1.
Hi, so first, I'd just like to thank you all for having me out here. It's a long drive from Garden City, but I always have a good time when I'm out here in Lawrence, so thank you for that. My name is Jimmy Beard, and I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives. I was raised in a military family, both my parents having served 20 years in the Air Force, and my stepdad enlisted in the Navy before becoming an officer in the Air Force. So I learned at a very young age to put service to others before myself and to leave behind something better than what I walked into. That's why I went to Hayes to get my education degree. That's why I've been a math teacher in Garden City for the better part of the last 10 years. I think I'm actually going into my 10th year this August. That's why I've worked with local and state organizations to protect queer youth in Garden City, to protect voting access in Finney County, and to elect responsible leadership in Garden City regardless of party. And that's why I'm running for Congress. So Congress can do its damn job and represent Kansans instead of the partisan grandstanding that we've had for decades, trying to score political points, working for corporate lobbyists who are setting the agenda, and only voting the way their party leadership tells them to do. I'm running for Congress so we can put common sense legislation so we can enact common sense legislation, and I'll work with anyone regardless of party to get that done. There are some common sense things that we need to do. Our farmers deserve robust right to repair legislation. There's no reason that a farmer should have to wait days on end for a John Deere technician to come and fix their tractor when it's something they can do because it has to run through proprietary software. And they have to pay an arm and a leg for the inconvenience. We need representation who will help tackle climate change in a way that benefits farmers. It benefits our agricultural community because it's a challenge that needs to be faced, and without representation at the table, decisions are going to be made for us. And it's something that needs to happen soon. We've had cattle die in Ulysses last month, and towns across Kansas are facing water restrictions. It's beyond time to end the federal prohibition on marijuana. It should be treated no different than tobacco or alcohol. It would open up a revenue stream for states, and it would allow our farmers to grow more crops between marijuana and industrial hemp that are less water intense. We need to refocus on public education. Too often, money gets siphoned away from our public schools to go to private schools and charter schools that aren't held to the same accountability standards. And speaking of school accountability, we need to reimagine what that looks like too. We've been facing testing standards that have only increased over the past 20 years, tests that our kids don't take seriously, tests that determine how well schools are performing, and they're over-tested and schools are underfunded. So flipping this seat is not gonna be easy. It's gonna take every single one of us. Flipping this seat's not gonna be cheap. I don't have the same sort of corporate money that some other people in this race might have. So go to Jimmy for Kansas, right? Searching my name's a bit tough. If you search James Beard, you find all about the chef. If you search Jimmy Beard, which I just did in the seat just to see what happens, you get Uncle Jimmy's Beard Oil. So Jimmy for Kansas, and that's all spelled out. Jimmy for Kansas on any social media, jimmyforkansas.com. Why? JIMMY. Sign up to volunteer. I'm going to be starting to roll out some voter outreach efforts after the primary. Because I don't face a primary, I want to save all of the efforts for Vote No. And up at the top, you'll see a donate. So if I've convinced you, if I've sold you today, donate, sign up, or you can go to my website, see what I'm all about, check out my social media. It's a lot of Vote No. So August 2nd, Vote No, or earlier, Save Choice, Protect Women. And then November 8th, Vote Jimmy. And I'll stand for questions.
Yes, get a microphone. Okay, so we know Douglas County is pretty heavy Democrat. We know that Riley County will go Democrat on more than occasionally. What other areas do you think are strong in your district, or that you can bring something to the table that would make them strong?
Every area in this county will have votes that can help flip this seat. I'm not going to pretend that this is an easy race to win. It's going to be an easy race to flip. I went back the last few elections. I did the math. One of my estimates for a winning number is every single vote that Callie Barnett got in the last election, plus what I might be able to get out of Riley or out of Lawrence. So I want to make every single Republican who gerrymandered this district to give me Lawrence regret that decision, because I believe with your votes we can flip this seat.
Yes, my name is Mary Russell, and I'm a 2-year transplant to Kansas from Washington. Could you expand on what you were saying about John Deere and the farmers?
Sure. So right now in states like Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, Oklahoma, farmers all have a right to repair their legislation's lawsuits going on where consumers have a right to repair hardware that they have. And that extends to tractors on the farm and to like the phone in your pocket. Right now, if you want to repair your iPhone, it has to run through Apple proprietary software, because if you replace the screen, your fingerprint scanner won't work or your face scanner won't work without running through that Apple software, so you have to go to an Apple technician. The same thing is true for John Deere tractors. Even if it's a simple hardware fix they could do themselves, it relies on, or may rely on, proprietary software that regular farmers don't necessarily have access to, or they have to pay through the nose to get access to that software. So I believe that if a farmer can fix, or if a consumer can fix hardware that they've bought, that they own, they shouldn't have to rely on proprietary software that they can't get access to. And that's like something that almost every Kansan supports, and the only reason we don't have that is because of corporate lobbyists. There's a John Deere lawsuit in Nebraska that Apple came in support of, or Apple came in opposition to right to repair for that exact reason.
I wonder, I'm Jim Brook, I'm a local precinct chair along with my wife, and we'll be excited to support you after August 2.
Right.
I'd like you to talk about maybe the overlap between farmers' interests and our concerns about climate change and environmental collapse. I don't want to be overly broad, but what does a normally Republican rural person care about that you can bring to the table and to interest them in a Democrat these days?
Sure. So as it stands for our farms, we have they're feeling the effects of climate change too. As I mentioned, cattle are dying. We're facing water restrictions across the state, and we're running headfirst into a modern dust bowl. So tackling those challenges is going to require some effort. And right now, we have elected leadership that are just burying their head in the sand. We need someone at the table who can represent farmers to tackle climate change as well, and that'll include responsible farming techniques, moving away from fossil fuels into more green energy, which we've seen happening all across the state. We've seen the number of wind farms increase year over year. And right now, part of the reason gas prices are so high is because it's not seen as a profitable investment, and that affects our farmers too. So if we can change, if we can move away from fossil fuels, if we can lessen the impact or the severity of these droughts, of these heat waves, that'll benefit our farmers too, and that's something they should care about. Thank you so much.
Jimmy Beard, thank you, thank you. We're now going to turn our attention to the U.S. Senate races. This, voters, is a very exciting year because we have 6 Democratic candidates on the primary ballot for U.S. Senate. And we have 2 of those candidates here with us today. We have Paul Buskirk and we have Patrick Wiesner. And I'm going to just go in reverse alphabetical order, and I'm going to invite Patrick Wiesner up first. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that reverse alphabetical order. Being a Wiesner, all my life I've been subject to that systemic discrimination, and I'm glad to see it reversed. Thank you. I'm Pat Wiesner. I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I'm honored to addressing Douglas County Democrats today. And I want to thank Pat Willer for reaching out to me. There are 2 problems that I will work on right away. First, I intend to lead the movement to rid Donald Trump from Kansas politics. And 2, I will get you an assault weapons ban. Kansas gave our country Dwight Eisenhower, Father Emil Capon, Amelia Earhart. These heroes demonstrate leadership and sacrifice and courage. Donald Trump claimed bone spurs to get out of the Vietnam draft. He intentionally doesn't pay contractors, and he hires porn stars. I don't see any Kansas values in this guy. Who would ever expect Donald Trump to step into the shoes of Dwight Eisenhower? No one. We know Trump would get out of it by claiming that would hurt his feet. Father Emil Capon, Kansas Korean War Medal of Honor recipient, a brave Army priest who followed the Bible to help prisoners of war and lost his life in the process. Donald Trump used the Bible as a publicity stunt. You all remember the picture of him holding up the Bible before the Washington church? You can bet Donald Trump tells his supporters that The Art of the Deal would have outsold the Bible if his book hadn't been stolen. Trump will never quite get over why we honor Amelia Earhart. In 1937, Miss Earhart was lost somewhere in the Pacific while trying to fly solo around the rest of the world. Trump also considers himself an aviator. He owned Trump Shuttle, which was an East Coast regional air carrier with about 20 aircraft. The company never made money, ran out of cash, didn't pay its vendors, and in less than 3 years ceased to exist. But Donald Trump wants more tributes than Amelia Earhart. Miss Earhart had one plane that went underwater. Donald Trump thinks that's nothing. He put a whole airline under. More pressing than removing Trump is protecting our children from school massacres. The Supreme Court's 2008 decision in D.C. versus Heller is good policy guidance on gun ownership rights and public safety. Justice Scalia wrote this opinion with great care. First, he acknowledged the right of individuals to possess firearms for traditional lawful purposes, such as defense within the home and for hunting. I don't think any of us disagree with that. But he also said and ruled the Second Amendment has limits. He specifically said longstanding laws intended to protect the public are valid and enforceable. States and cities have constitutional clearance to pass local laws and regulations that prohibit the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, that can keep guns out of sensitive places like schools, airplanes, and courthouses, and that restrict the sale of some types of firearms. You can't own bazookas, you can't own machine guns, you can't own rocket-propelled grenades. This, I believe, is good law. Let's use it to save lives and make kids feel safe. City councils, school superintendents, university chancellors, all, right at this moment, have positive Supreme Court authority to protect their students. I will take the lead in the Senate with promoting a federal ban on any weapon capable of mowing down troops. We will pass laws ending the loophole in gun sale background checks. We will give police authority to seize the weapons of the dangerously mentally ill and anybody who threatens the peace. I watched a Republican senator on C-SPAN defend AR-15s as needed to kill prairie dogs and other varmints. I'll win that senator over with a law that allows charging with a hate crime any animal that shoots first. We're going to rid our country of weapons of mass killing. And if some right-wing nuts get in our way, we're going to run them down. I ask for your vote, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I can hear you.
Okay, so when you talk about doing gun legislation, getting the other side of the aisle to participate in that conversation, what kind of strategies do you have to accomplish that? Because we have lots of goals, but then we get a ton of pushback. So I wonder how this becomes more successful this time around.
Well, in Uvalde, the adults failed the children, and it's time right now for both parties to come together, and for the sake of children to go to school and think about learning stuff and making friendships. They don't have to worry about maybe today they're going to get massacred. So that common goal should bring Republicans and Democrats together to ban an assault weapon, because it isn't necessary. An assault weapon isn't necessary for hunting, and it isn't necessary to stop advancing troops, because that's not what's going to happen in their home.
So you think the tone of the conversation will just be different in the next round?
I'm not understanding your question.
I mean, just the messaging, it's the Second Amendment right. We've known about school shootings, so your answer is because of this most recent event, you think that Republicans are more open to coming in?
They've got to be. I don't know how you can, when everybody wants to protect kids, and kids need to feel safe to learn, and they don't need to worry about getting shot. I believe that's a common denominator that Republicans can warm up to, and Democrats can persuade them to adopt. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And our second candidate for U.S. Senate is Paul Buskirk.
Thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate it very much. My name is Paul Buskirk. I live in Lawrence with my wife, Lauren, and our two grown children, Sierra and Maria, and they've lived all their lives here. It's a very special community, which you already know. I come from a long line of service providers, as perhaps many of you. Great-grandparents, grandparents, parents were pastors, teachers, doctors, nurses. My wife is a school counselor, and then there's me. I've been an educator in this state for the past 37 years. I work with high school and college students in academic support, as counseling and tutoring, life skills, career development, everything in between. And I've seen firsthand, as I'm sure you have firsthand, the tremendous challenges facing our children and youth. I've always known that there would be a time, as much as I love my students, there would be a time, there would be sufficient needs that I would be able and needed to step up into a larger platform with a larger voice to be able to help more people. I've always known that. This journey today in front of you is 16 years in the making. I remember it vividly. 2006, it came to me that I should be running for governor. I'm not quite sure where that came from at the moment, and I did share that with a handful of friends and colleagues, and I got a variety of responses from, wow, that's cool, to you're nuts, and somewhere in between. By the way, that's not too dissimilar from some of the reactions I get today, but I've had a lot more practice listening to this. It was 2006. Kathleen Sebelius was running for re-election. I sounded it out with my colleagues and friends, but I hadn't talked it over with my wife yet. The filing deadline was June 1st, and it's the middle of May. My wife and girls were in California visiting Grandpa. So I got on the phone, and I talked it through with her a little bit, and I said, Lauren, I think this is something I'm supposed to do. And there was this really long pause on the end of the line. And she said, Paul, I just love Kathleen Sebelius. I don't think I could vote for you. That was a very short-lived campaign. But the passion and the burning has always been there, waiting for the opportunity that would present itself to address needs. Why now? 3 reasons, very personal reasons to me. Number 1, my father, who was a pastor, he died 10 years ago. Always giving to others. But in his retirement, and my parents retired in Lawrence, in his retirement, he talked so often about regrets. Not the things that he did, the things that he never did. And I was so sad for him because it seemed as though he was just living the emptiness. And I resolved back then that that would never be me. I could not sit on the back porch and look over my shoulder and wonder, my goodness, I could have helped, but I chose not to. Number 2, my mother, almost of 93 years old, passed away at the end of March. She had a wonderful life. If she were still with us today, I don't know that I would be running. I think she would support me, but I think she would be fearful and anxious, and I wasn't about to do that to a 92-year-old wonderful person. But then the 3rd reason was May 2nd, and you know this date. This is the date that the media leaked the pending decision from the Supreme Court that eventually overturned Roe v. Wade. I remember vividly listening to that on the radio, and my blood boiled in that moment that this is it. This is the time when I need to step forth and be that louder voice. That's the reason for my timing, but that's not the reason why I'm running. The reason I'm running is this. In that tremendous debate between life and choice discussion and emotion and the anger that is in between those two is a voice that's missing. I will vote no on August 2nd. Let me be clear. In the middle of that debate are the voices of the children who are already born, the children who are already here. We have the children that are born into this world to families who are ready to bring them into this world, and that's wonderful. We have other children that are born into families and women that they think they're ready, but it turns out they're not. And now we might have women bringing children into the world knowing that they're not ready, but thinking they have no other choice. We have opportunities to engage. Our adoption services in this state are actually fabulous, but there's not enough education to be able to bring that to all those in need. My wife and I adopted both of our daughters. This is very dear and near to my heart. Our foster care services across the state have tremendous, wonderful victory stories, but also tragic stories. We have 7,000 children in foster care in our state. Each year, we have 400 of those that age out, as we talked about before, age out. They have to leave the system. Of those 400 students who age out every year, 5% go to college. 40% end up in prison. We have to do better. Our young families, our working families who are working so hard to be able to keep their families together, and now our cost of living, our housing issues that are rampant across our state are pushing them to the edge. We have to do more. That's why I'm here, is to step up into this larger platform, to be this larger voice, to be able to help more individuals. I've had the chance to crisscross the state, as have others, in listening to people, caregivers on the front lines of needs. Talked with teachers, district superintendents, directors of medical clinics for the most needy of needy in Wichita, directors of homeless shelters, food pantries, social workers involved. The stories are amazing when they're heroic, but some of the other stories are painful to listen to. But the theme that is rampant, that is common, that I am hearing over and over again, surprised me, but then again it did not. These frontline caregivers step into circumstances, terrible circumstances, and face issues that many of us, myself included, would consider to be hopeless. But they bring hope into every moment. They know they can be there to make a difference. We can do this together. Sometimes those caregivers believe they live in silos and they're not sure that they have friends, that they have colleagues, that they have like-minded souls to make a difference. That's why I'm here. I was asked a question earlier this afternoon, well, what else is your platform besides children and youth? That's a fair question. That's it. This is my platform. Our children, our youth, our families. There's nothing more important because the message is more important than I am. You've all been through the Flint Hills. Right? You've seen the beauty there. You may have been through the Flint Hills when the ranchers do the burns on the hills. One of three things happens. The burn works. It's a slow, smoldering piece, takes hours and days to grow across the acreage. It can go wrong. The second thing is the rains come. We're not watching for it, in which case you have to stop and start over a few days later. But the last one is the most amazing, but it can be dangerous. That's when the flames pick up and suddenly it becomes a roar across the prairie. That is this message. Our children and youth, there's nothing more important. And it will resonate amongst us because of the beauty and the support of Kansans just like us. I'd appreciate your support on August 2nd. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you to our candidates. Thank you to our candidates for coming. Running for office is tough work. It is long nights. It's tough conversations mixed with some awesome moments. Thank you to each of our candidates for running. Thank you for your willingness to represent us. And thank you for coming today. Thank you. And thanks to all of you. Again, if you are interested in learning more about voting or volunteering, check out our website, douglascountydems.org. And Governor Kelly's coming at noon, so stop on by if you'd like to see her. Thank you all.